3 years after we got married. My husband and the person who had hurt me before made their relationship public in our circle of friends. In the photo, they were face to face. The caption read, "I think I'll always be happy." Maybe he found a way to unblock me in the circle of friends. He quickly deleted the post until I laid the divorce papers in front of Ethan. He still thought I was being stubborn. He said, "Stop it. You should think about it too. Why did Sophia only target you back then and not bother anyone else? You might have had problems too." Later on, I achieved success in love and in my career, but Ethan went crazy looking for me everywhere. When we met again, his eyes were red. He reached out to hug me. "Emma, I was wrong. Give me another chance, okay?" A pair of hands embraced my waist from behind. Liam turned his head. An obvious red mark was visible on his neck. "Hey, isn't this brother Happiness in the photo?" The two are very close together. The boy's eyes are gentle. The girl's face is full of a sweet smile. Next to it, it says, "I think I'll be happy forever." I stare at Ethan's Facebook feed on my phone. I grimace and shake my head. Who would have thought it? My husband is posting intimate photos with other women on his Facebook feed. I tap refresh. As a result, the Facebook feed disappears in an instant. I stare at the phone. I think back to Ethan's phone call earlier. He said, "Emma, something came up at work tonight. I'll be back late. The food on the table is still steaming." It's getting dark. I'm sitting on the sofa. No light is on. My face is hard to see in the dim light. The woman in the photo is Sophia. Many years ago, she used to see me as her rival. Back then, she was always trying to compete with me. I joined the choir, so she performed a solo. I made friends. She spread nasty rumors about me. I got first place in the exam, but she couldn't beat me. So Sophia started to get other people to isolate me, but I didn't really care. My repeated concessions only made her more reckless. Look at our university champion. Now he looks so pitiful. Sophia and a few girls watched me in disarray. They couldn't stop laughing. It was getting dark. "University champion, you can stay here." I heard the sound of the warehouse door lock. They poured water on me. My clothes were soaked. They clung to my skin. I curled up into a ball, trying to keep my body warm. Luckily, it wasn't long before Ethan, who was passing by, found me and rescued me. I looked at his back, just like the many times he stood in front of me in the future. It made me feel especially at ease. He said, "Emma, if Sophia bullies you again in the future, you just tell me. I'll protect you." The image of the sunny and clean teenager in my memory gradually faded. Instead, it was replaced by a completely different Ethan after marriage. I came back to my senses. I picked up the phone and contacted the lawyer. I asked him to prepare the divorce agreement. At that moment, the phone dinged. Ethan sent a message saying, "Emma, tomorrow I'm bringing some friends over for dinner. Remember to prepare some food." The lawyer was very quick. Before Ethan arrived, I had already obtained the agreement. "Emma, are the dishes ready? My brothers really like your cooking." Ethan led 3 or 4 people through the door. Someone said, "Emma, your sweet and sour pork is really good." We all envy Ethan. He's so lucky to have such a good wife. It was Ethan's best friend Noah who said this. If it had been a normal day, I would have happily served the food and then clean up after they've finished eating. After all, my diligence makes Ethan feel good about himself. I sit on the sofa. I hold the divorce agreement in my hands. I read it carefully. I don't want to get up at all. Then I throw the divorce agreement on the table. It makes a clear sound. Ethan picks up the agreement. His eyes narrow slightly. They are full of confusion and surprise. "Emma, why do you suddenly want a divorce? Is there something I'm not doing well? Tell me. I'll be more careful in the future. No temper tantrum MTKS, okay?" Even at this moment, he's still pretending to be calm. I stare at Ethan expressionlessly and ask, "Where were you last night?" Ethan's face suddenly changes. His eyes darting at me. "You know everything. I did cheat, but don't you have any responsibility?" It's that familiar feeling again, over the years. Whenever there was a problem, Ethan was always the first person to come to me. As for being targeted by Sophia, perhaps it was because I was too outstanding. That aroused her jealousy. We had been married for 3 years. Due to my health, we never had children. There were problems with the company's projects. It was also because I didn't get along with the investors' wives. I once thought that as long as I tried a little harder, Ethan would love me as before. But reality slapped me in the face. My hands kept shaking. My stomach felt sick. I felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. Sophia was still young at the time. She didn't understand. "It's been so long, you should let it go. Besides, After what happened back then, you weren't at all responsible. Ethan was as usual, taking things for granted and demanding that I give in, just like we had done countless times before. No matter who was right or wrong, I was always the one to give in first. I looked at Ethan. He no longer looked like the sunny boy he once was. Ethan, sign it, from now on. Whether you like Sophia or someone else, it's none of my business. His friends saw the situation was not good. They immediately came over to persuade. Emma, don't be angry. You've been with Ethan for so long. Don't break up so easily. Ethan, you really did something wrong. Hurry up and apologize to Emma. Ethan was so embarrassed in front of everyone when I said that. He couldn't hold his face. He was so angry. Emma, you have to think about it. How will you live without me? I looked calm. I took the signed agreement and left. Ethan looked at my back. His eyes narrowed slightly. Ethan, go after Emma. Apologize to her. This time you really went too far. Emma hasn't been in contact with society for 3 years. She can't live independently without me. She'll definitely come back to me. I've tried to go out and work many times, but Ethan has always found some excuse to convince me to stay. In the early days of our business, he said the company was at a critical juncture. It was extremely busy. He asked me to focus on taking care of the family. Once the company stabilized, he said I could rest assured and be Mrs. Ethan. In my spare time, I should drink tea with the wives of our business partners and cultivate good relationships. Later, he simply said directly, working outside would make him lose face. People would think he couldn't support me. Later on, he became increasingly strict about what I wore. He wouldn't let me wear skirts that showed my knees. I wasn't allowed to perm or dye my hair. Even my makeup had to be as subtle as possible. We had many arguments about this. Each time, he would use his past actions to protect me as an excuse. He said, Emma, I'm doing this all because I love you. Emma, it's not safe for you to wear such short skirts when you go out. I'm just looking out for your safety. Emma, I'm the only person in the world who genuinely doesn't want you to get hurt. In his actions, which he repeatedly justified on the grounds that he was looking out for me, I gradually lost sight of myself. Coming out of the civil affairs office, I stared at the divorce certificate in my hands. I took a deep breath. It's finally over. From now on, I'll treat myself well. I picked up the phone and called my best friend Olivia and asked her to go to a bar with me for a drink. When she arrived, she saw the empty glass in front of me. She immediately understood my mood. What's wrong? Did you have another fight with Ethan? I waved the divorce certificate in front of her. We're divorced. After hearing the whole story, Olivia was so angry that she almost wanted to go and argue with Ethan. He's really infuriating for doing this. Cheating is already outrageous, and the person is Sophia. Doesn't he know how deeply Sophia hurt you back then? Although Ethan always protected me back then, we weren't in the same class. There were times when he couldn't look after me. They often sprayed water on my desk, wetting my test papers, and they blocked me in the toilet and wouldn't let me out. These things happened to me all the time, but because they didn't really hurt me, the class teacher just gave them a simple warning. An indescribable smile appeared on my face. Never mind. Let bygones be bygones. Someone will always take care of the bad guys. I think Ethan and Sophia are a good match. Olivia thought I was confused by Ethan. Nonsense. I've long advised you to divorce Ethan, but it's not too late. Come on, let's drink up today. After saying that, she cheerfully lifted her glass. She gulped it down in one go. She placed the glass on the table with a loud crash. Olivia placed the empty glass on the bar. She said, My dear, 3-legged toads are hard to find, but men with 2 legs are everywhere. With your qualifications, anyone would be better than that irresponsible guy. I'm one of the more attractive types. Over the years, because of Ethan's preferences, I've changed my previous style of dressing. I also try to keep my makeup as light as possible. I have deliberately toned down my appearance. I'm going to the bathroom. In the hallway, a man is leaning against the wall. The contours of his face stand out in the light and shadow. The collar of his shirt is unbuttoned. He looks a little disheveled. Liam, why is he here? Maybe he noticed me looking at him. He turns his head and looks at me. Emma, I thought you had become a good wife and mother. Why are you still hanging out in places like this? I smiled slightly. I'm divorced. I should have left him a long time ago. Suddenly, Liam changed the subject and said, Why don't you give me a chance? The lights in the bar flickered on and off. Liam's tone sounded like he was joking, but there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. I couldn't tell if what he said was true or not, and I was afraid to take the risk of trusting someone's heart, seeing that I didn't respond for a long time. Liam smiled and said, It's so late. "Let me walk you home." I was going to refuse, but Olivia had already stood behind me, she said. "Sure, I'll trouble Liam." After that, she whispered in my ear, "Seize the opportunity. I think Liam is quite nice." On the other side, as soon as Ethan entered the house, he saw Sophia sitting on the sofa. She was waiting for him with a hopeful look on her face. He couldn't help but frown. "What are you doing here?" He always thought that in less than a week, I would be the one to admit my fault like I used to. He particularly resented Sophia's presence in this house, full of memories. Hearing Ethan's cold voice, Sophia's eyes immediately turned red. "Ethan, I really like you. It's my fault that you and Emma got divorced. Will you take me to apologize to Emma? I was ignorant in the past. I hurt Emma. She must hate me. I don't care if she beats me or scolds me. I just hope she doesn't take it out on you." Sophia spoke sincerely, but she meant to make Ethan feel uncomfortable. It's been so long. Emma should have let go a long time ago, but she's still holding a grudge over such a trivial matter. "Don't worry, in less than a week, she'll definitely come to me and make up," Ethan felt. Since he supports Emma financially, Emma should tolerate his occasional betrayal, even if the other person is Sophia. He said, "Don't worry, the heroine of that play is still you." Sophia felt relieved. She happily approached Ethan, saying nice things nonstop. "Ethan, you're so good. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't know what to do." Ethan originally wanted to refuse, but thinking about how I made him lose face in front of everyone, he tacitly approved of Sophia's actions. It was late at night. The two were emotional. The room was filled with the sound of their passion. Later, Sophia lay on our old marital bed. She gave a satisfied smile. She took a selfie. With Ethan's consent, she sent the photo out. Emma, I wonder if you'll go crazy when you read this." My phone rang. I picked it up. I saw Sophia lying on the bed. Her face still had a slight blush, and wearing a classic necklace from D. It was the style I had always wanted to buy but never dared. Back then, Ethan's company was just starting to do well. He was extremely busy. On Valentine's Day, he finally found time to go on a date. He saw a necklace in a boutique. Actually, the necklace wasn't expensive. Ethan could well afford it, but I knew the company was in urgent need of funds, so I racked my brains to find faults with the necklace. I quickly finished dealing with the salesperson and pulled Ethan away from the mall. I never imagined that the necklace I hesitated to buy for so long would end up on Sophia's neck. At that moment, I realized we had been married for 3 years. Ethan had never seemed to buy me anything. Instead, I was always trying to surprise him. In his words, those were the pitfalls of consumerism. Or perhaps couples shouldn't care too much. I kind of regretted it. I should have let Ethan spend more money. After all, compared to the intangible thing of love, money is more tangible. The sound of my phone brought me back to reality. "Emma, after all these years, you're still no match for me." I smiled coldly. I thought to myself, even though we're divorced, he's still picking on me. He only sees a huge trash can. After eating the trash, he still proudly shows it off. "If you haven't tried anything delicious, I'll recommend some nice restaurants to you. Don't be embarrassed outside." After sending the message, I deliberately waited for a while to see how the other person would respond, but she never sent another message. At that time, Olivia came over. "Emma, what are your plans next?" Recently, Olivia was worried that I was depressed, so she moved in with me to keep me company. "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. If it's really not working out, I'll support you." I applied for a graduate school in the US. I'm going abroad. After telling her what happened, Olivia immediately expressed her support. "I remember you used to like doing research. It's all Ethan's fault, that irresponsible guy." Whenever Olivia mentioned Ethan, she couldn't help but defend me. At first, Ethan persuaded me not to pursue graduate school, just settle down at home. After some soul-searching, I finally decided to accept his offer. This also means that I may have to make constant compromises in the future. I took a deep breath and said to Olivia seriously, "From now on, I want to focus on my career. Other things, like Ethan, should not be mentioned again." Before leaving the country, Olivia had specially asked a friend of mine to come and say goodbye to me. "Emma, come quickly. There's a surprise waiting for you in the box." I understand. After hanging up the phone, I ran into Noah in the hallway. He said, "Emma, come over here. Ethan is here too. Ethan and I are divorced. You don't have to call me Emma anymore. Just call me by my name. Have fun." Noah thought I was still angry. He said, "Emma, Ethan was wrong about that matter, but every family has its own problems. Just let go of some things. You and Ethan have been together for so many years. Can you really let him go? It really is like a track like. Both Noah and Ethan think I will accept them unconditionally, no matter what Ethan does. I didn't give him a good face. I turned to leave. But Ethan, who had suddenly appeared, grabbed my wrist. Emma, have you had enough? My patience has a limit. Ethan froze. He didn't expect me to hit him. I took the opportunity to break free from his grip. Ethan, you have to understand. We are divorced. And you were the one who cheated on me. Don't pretend you're giving me a chance. Why bother? He'd just been slapped in front of his friends. Ethan wanted to hit back, but he wanted to keep his cool. So he just let it go. Very well, Emma. I'm waiting for the day you come back and beg. You've really gone too far. I don't know why I didn't notice before. He's not only a control freak, he's also a bit mentally ill. I decided not to say anything to Ethan. I walked straight to the VIP room. As soon as I pushed the door open, Olivia came up to me enthusiastically. She took my hand and led me to Liam. Look, there's no seats left. You can sit next to Surprise. He winked at me. Liam didn't look very well. He looked a bit listless. After a few rounds of drinks, everyone started playing the game of Kings, except Liam. Everyone else was having a great time. The atmosphere was electric. Finally, it was my turn. I had to kiss number 3 and number 4. Olivia hadn't had much luck in the previous rounds. She had been the butt of some pretty bad jokes. Now it was her turn to get back at them. I looked at the cards in my hand. What a coincidence. I had drawn number 4. I showed my card. I secretly hoped that number 3 was a girl. There was a murmur of excitement around me. I turned my head and looked. Liam was holding his card and waving it in front of my face. He was smiling mischievously. I was luckier than I thought. At that moment, it suddenly became quiet. My heart was pounding. All I could see was Liam's face slowly approaching. What should I do? He's not going to kiss me, is he? Never mind. If he does, I'll just let it happen. I'll pretend it was just a little touch. I tried to stay calm. I secretly reminded myself not to get nervous and impulsively hit Liam. At that moment, Liam suddenly reached out and grabbed the glass next to me. He finished it in one go. I can't drink. I had to punish myself with 3 drinks. When I opened my eyes, I saw Liam with a sly smile and said, "Does this mean you owe me one?" The bar was dimly lit. Our eyes met. My heartbeat gradually accelerated. After going abroad for graduate school, I rented an apartment near the university, in a foreign country. I felt freer than ever, apart from attending classes. I also signed up for a boxing class. If it had been before, Ethan definitely would not have approved of me taking this class. According to him, I shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. He felt that I should just do what he liked, just be a tool to satisfy his vanity after finishing the task before the deadline. I stretched. The stress of the past few days disappeared instantly. After leaving Ethan, things really did become a lot easier. I gathered my equipment. I planned to go to the boxing gym for some more training. Walking along the lively commercial street, I was just admiring life's beauty when suddenly there was a loud bang. The crowd began to scatter in all directions. It was a shooting. A few criminals in front of the van were shooting randomly into the crowd. The originally lively commercial street suddenly became chaotic. The white lady in front of me was shot. Blood spurted out. It was the first time I had seen such a horrible scene. I was so scared that I froze. Be careful. Before I could react, I was pulled into a familiar embrace. There was gunfire all around, but I felt an inexplicable sense of security. It was Liam. Run! Another gunshot. Liam grunted. He took my hand and quickly ran towards safety. Liam ran for a while, until I could no longer hear the gunshots. Then he stopped. Leaning against the wall, he gasped for breath. "Are you okay?" I shook my head and asked him, "Are you okay?" I can still remember the sound. I anxiously checked Liam. Stop, stop, stop. It's just a little scratch from the bullet. We just need to find somewhere to bandage it." Liam stopped me. His eyes were a little deep, but he jokingly said, "Are you checking to see if I'm okay or taking advantage of the situation?" I let out a sigh of relief when I saw that he was fine. "Why are you here?" I remember. Liam took over the family business after graduation. Could it be that he's here on business? But this is too much of a coincidence. I asked him, but he looked away. Suddenly he said, "Oops, my arm suddenly hurts. Hurry up and take me to the hospital." When we left the hospital, it was already late. I took Liam back to the apartment I rented. "Remember to change this medicine every day. Don't let the wound come into contact with water for a few days." Liam sat on the sofa, listening to me nagging about various precautions. I asked, "Can I stay here for a few days?" I froze for a moment. I was a little surprised by Liam's request. He said, "I'm here alone. no one to change my medicine for me. Liam seemed to be worried that I would refuse. He quickly continued, okay, after all, he got hurt saving me. After hearing my answer, Liam immediately brightened up. He said, don't worry, I won't live here for free. I'll pay for all your meals from now on. It had been 2 months since the divorce. Ethan increasingly felt the house was empty. He seemed to have really grown fond of Emma. However, perhaps it was just because she was easy to control. Ethan took a drag on his cigarette and silently looked at the person in the photo. In the photo, Sophia is wearing a white gauze dress. She has put on a light makeup that doesn't really suit her. Noah thinks that Ethan is looking at me through Sophia. He then persuades, Ethan, you still have to coax women a bit. Emma is actually quite soft-hearted. People around Ethan persuade him one after another. Ethan, Emma likes you so much. You coax her, give her a way out. She will naturally come back. Ethan hesitates for a moment. He picked up his phone anyway. He dialed the familiar number. A voice came from the other end of the line. Hello, Emma's in the shower. If you have something to say to me, just say it. Ethan's anger flared up at the man's voice on the other end of the line. Who are you? Why are you using Emma's phone? We're both adults. You know exactly what happened. As for who I am, it doesn't seem to concern you. Before Ethan could reply, the phone on the other end of the line rang off. The veins on Ethan's forehead stood out. His face was distorted with anger. His eyes were full of uncontrollable anger. He said with clenched teeth, How dare she? Haven't I been good enough for her? How could she betray me? Ethan, don't be so hasty. Maybe there's some misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? Since she did this, don't expect her to come back, and no one should speak for her in the future. Liam just stayed in my house. It was like boiling a frog in warm water. Before I knew it, I had grown accustomed to having Liam around. Every time I returned home, I could always see Liam busily working in the kitchen when I was at home writing my thesis. He was also working with a computer. We both crowded into the small study. Although we didn't speak, it felt especially warm. When we had time, we would go out for a walk together. The landlord's family next door even thought we were a couple. Facing the landlord's misunderstanding, Liam just smiled, without explaining after a while. His injury had basically healed, but he neither mentioned returning to his country nor moving out. Since he didn't mention it, I didn't ask. Maybe it was because he felt especially lonely in a foreign country, or because Liam held me in times of danger. It made me feel at ease. I always hoped that these moments could last a little longer. That day, when I got home, Liam had already prepared dinner. He was waiting for me on the sofa, holding a bouquet of roses. The room was lit by a warm yellow light. The light made him look softer. Something urgent came up at work. I have to rush back tomorrow. Liam looked a little nervous. He stood up and handed me the roses in his hands. He said, Emma, I like you. Would you like to give it a try with me? He looked at me with a stubborn expression. Unlike before, he wasn't joking. He was being very serious. Sure, I haven't thought it through yet. My body had already agreed to him. As soon as I said yes, he put his arms around me and whispered, if you say yes, you can't go back on it. Liam held me tightly. It was as if he was afraid I would leave. He put some strength into his hands. I listened to his rapid heartbeat. I was a little lost in thought. Ethan was also this excited before, but in the end, I was disappointed. I'm not sure how long Liam's sincerity will last, but at this moment, I feel happy and willing to believe in him. After Liam left, he called every day. Looking at his handsome face on the screen, my mood improved a lot. Emma, I'll go back to you after I'm done with this period of time. You're so busy at work. Don't keep going back and forth. I'll be back in less than a year anyway. The man on the other end of the phone was very persistent. Of course not. Of course you have to keep your own wife. Liam kept his word. During the year I was in graduate school, he always found opportunities to fly to see me. Seeing the dark circles under his eyes, I felt a little sad, but I couldn't argue with him. After graduation, I returned to China. I successfully entered the graduate school I always wanted to go to. I was planning to ask Olivia and the others to hang out. Unexpectedly, I ran into Sophia. She said to me, Emma, please come back in the coffee shop. Sophia held onto my clothes tightly. It was as if I were her only support. She said, Ethan is such a control freak. He told me to imitate you in every way, and now he wants me to quit the entertainment industry. I'm really on the verge of a breakdown. Sophia looked a little dazed. Her pretty face looked a little pale. She was wearing Ethan's favorite white dress. I had long suspected it. Ethan had always hidden his desire for control well. It wasn't until after we got married that he really revealed it. At first, I thought it was the stress of starting a business. I never imagined that this was his true nature. Fortunately, Sophia helped me. I managed to get away. I took a sip of coffee, my mood calmed. Sophia's eyes were full of surprise. Slowly, she let go of my hand. She said, "Ethan, didn't you go out of your way to chase after him? It's only been a year. You can't stand it anymore. You're doing this on purpose. Aren't you, Sophia? You're wrong to say that. I'm also a victim." I smiled at her, pretending to be innocent, but there was a hint of smugness in my eyes. She was silent for a while. Just as I was about to leave, she suddenly grabbed the coffee and splashed it on herself, with a panicked look on her face. "Emma, Ethan and I are truly in love. Please forgive me. Sophia is truly a rising star in the media." She looked like she had suffered a great injustice. Anyone who didn't know any better would think I had bullied her. I picked up the coffee in front of me and poured it directly over her head. Sophia obviously didn't expect me to do this, and screamed as she tried to avoid it, but ended up getting coffee all over her. I watched her flounder. I laughed with particular glee. "Since you like coffee so much, I'll give you this one too. You're welcome." A photo of me splashing coffee on Sophia was posted online. It sparked a lot of discussion. The photo was taken from behind Sophia. It clearly captured the look of glee on my face as I splashed the coffee. That heartless person actually dared to splash coffee on my daughter. I have to settle the score with her. Alas, look at her smug expression. I'm afraid my daughter has been wronged. It really breaks my heart. Someone dug up the fact that Sophia and I were classmates in high school. They even found a so-called classmate from back then to testify. As a result, the topic of Emma bullying Sophia suddenly became a hot search. Someone said, "Isn't it because this sister divorced Ethan that she's upset? She's just looking for trouble with Sophia. It's not Sophia's fault. There's a culprit for every grievance. Bullying her is nothing. I was bullied before. My mentality has never been adjusted. I really hope that Jayo, wife's sister, can leave. I will pay someone to find your old classmates. He can also say that you are spreading rumors. Can't you judge for yourself? Jayo, wife sister, use your big mouth to speak." The post is full of critical voices. Before I had time to flip through a few more pages, Liam took my phone away. "Don't read it yet. I'll ask them to take down the trending topic." I shook my head and said, "No need. Isn't there already negative news about Sophia? Just post it." An hour later, many posts about Sophia started popping up online. Someone claiming to be a member of Sophia's crew said they were filming in the mountains. She acted like she was rich because of Ethan's investment. She insisted on taking a shower with mineral water. I was an extra. Sophia was unhappy with her look. She demanded that all the crew members shave their heads with her. I was a high school classmate of Sophia's. In fact, Sophia bullied Emma back then. I have photos to prove it. I've attached a photo of Sophia pouring red ink on my desk back then. I think the time is right. I posted a screenshot of the text message Sophia sent me online, and I'm addressing Sophia directly. Next time you interfere with someone's relationship, remember to think twice. Suddenly, public opinion completely changed. Sophia's comment section was overrun. Only a few fans were still arguing with netizens. Someone commented, "I really didn't think someone could be so shameless. On the surface, they pretend to be serious, but in private, they play around so much." It really opened my eyes. Obviously, her own behavior is problematic, but she's still there confusing right and wrong. How can someone be so unreasonable? Ethan is not a good person either. He mentally controls his wife and cheats on her. Such a person is really speechless. The negative news on the internet caused Smith Group's stock price to fall for several consecutive days. It wasn't long before Ethan came to the apartment where I was staying. "Emma," he looked at me. His eyes were full of self-righteous depth. "Have you been well during this period of time? If you have something to say, just say it." I leaned against the door. I looked a little impatient. "During this period of time, I have thought about it carefully. I found that I really did something wrong. Emma, I really like you. Stop acting here." I interrupted Ethan before he could finish. It was obvious that he had made a mistake himself. It affected the company, and he's still pretending here. Ethan's eyes flashed with displeasure, but he still said with a serious look, "Emma, let's get married again. I will treat you well in the future." "Hey, isn't this brother happiness?" Liam heard the sound and walked over, put his arm around my waist. Two of his shirt buttons were undone. I don't know if it was intentional. It revealed some unusual traces. He said coldly, "Before you had the chance, what did you do to Emma?" Now you want to get back together. I see you are tearing off your left cheek and sticking it on your right. On the one hand, you are shameless. On the other hand, you are shameless. Ethan flew into a rage at the sound. He punched Liam directly in the face. Emma and I have been in love for years. Who the hell are you? She was just playing with you. Liam grabbed him by the collar and punched him back. Don't you worry. Emma and I are getting married soon. Don't forget to come to the wedding. The two of them fought fiercely. Neither would give in. In the end, I pulled them apart. Ethan looked at me. His eyes were full of pleading. Emma, I really know I was wrong. Will you come back with me? Go back and restore your image in the media, I sneered. Ethan, you are really greedy and shameless. You have no bottom line. Ethan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, Do you think Liam is a good person? When I called you, he answered, and said something that was misleading. Emma, only I really like you. I ignored him, pulled Liam back a step, then slammed the door. I ignored Ethan outside, knocking on the door nonstop, pulled Liam into the room, treated his wounds. Liam looked a little uneasy, opened his mouth to explain. I immediately stopped him. Why are you so impulsive? Seeing the bruises on Liam's face, I felt bad. I couldn't help but blame Ethan in my heart. Liam hugged me tightly. In a low voice, Emma, can we get married early? His tone was extraordinarily cautious. It was as if a stray cat that had finally found its owner was snuggling up to him at the corner of an alley. I kissed his chin lightly and said, Sure. I met Ethan again at a charity dinner. He appeared with Sophia. Due to some recent negative news, people around them kept looking at them curiously. Ethan reminded, Behave yourself. Don't be smart and do unnecessary things. Ethan tried hard to hold back the amused stares from the people around them. He whispered a reminder to Sophia. Due to him, the company's performance has dropped significantly. Ethan can only slightly salvage his image by doing charity. Sophia lowered her head. Her eyes were a bit complicated. She is now being criticized by many people online because of something. All the endorsements that had been negotiated before have been canceled. The company seems to have no intention of reusing her. All her hard work has been for nothing. Emma, on the other hand, is still doing well. Liam is busy entertaining guests. I'm avoiding the crowd. I found a quiet place to drink alone. I have to say, the wine served at the banquet really tastes good. It has a strong, fruity aroma. Emma, you must be quite pleased with yourself right now. Sophia's arrival has made the air feel fresh again. I heard that Ethan is about to be ousted by the board of directors. Your backer is going down. What are you going to do now? Even if nothing happens to Ethan, you don't stand a chance of making a comeback. Sophia's face grew increasingly gloomy. She made up her mind. She pulled out a pocket knife she had prepared beforehand and stabbed me. When Sophia rushed over, I quickly stepped aside. I grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. I have practiced martial arts. How could she possibly hurt me? Sophia hadn't reacted, yet I swept her to the ground with a kick. When the police took her away, she kept screaming. It was a complete contrast to her usual innocent image on screen. She said, You did that on purpose. After the report was done and we came out, Ethan asked me angrily, How could this happen? I just don't know how to express myself well. But your date was a bit clumsy. If you get the chance next time, I suggest you find someone smarter. This incident made Ethan's image even worse. Liam asked me to get in the car first. He and Ethan stayed outside to talk. What Liam and Ethan talked about that day, no one knows. Anyway, he never showed up again. On the day of the wedding, the weather was particularly good. Olivia stood next to me in her bridesmaid's dress. She said with a smile, I told you so. My intuition is always right. I've long felt that Liam has a thing for you. By the way, you have to throw the bouquet my way later. I don't have a boyfriend yet. I couldn't help laughing. I quickly agreed. Emma, look, isn't that Ethan? It really is true that what goes around comes around. My friend suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Then she handed me her phone. I took the phone at a glance. I saw the headline on the news. Ethan steps down. Smith Group undergoes major reshuffle. The company was only established 3 years ago. The foundation has not yet been laid. Ethan's decisions have caused the company to suffer consecutive losses, and now this big scandal. He was directly removed by the board of directors. 3 years of hard work has been wasted. I laughed softly. He brought this on himself. Oh dear, when I'm so happy, don't mention things that make people feel down. Olivia still looked disgusted when she mentioned Ethan. Oh dear, I'm sorry. Why did I bring him up again? I laughed. The wedding is about to start. Let's sit down first. Liam took care of the whole wedding preparation. Every detail was to my liking. Sunlight shone through the stained glass windows, casting colorful shadows on the ground. The music of the violin and piano intertwined. Liam held my hand and made a serious promise to me.